From the Zimmer Radio Network headquarters,
Mr. Woods, though he's been charged with DUI.
It's your morning addiction. Wake Up Missouri with Stephanie Bell.
This has to end. You know, we have a core responsibility to keep our government open.
The Zimmer News Team.
Ultimately, the reason why Cuba's a disaster is because their economic system doesn't work.
And now, introducing your host, Randy Tobler.
Every single one of the people, their loved one said, please, sir, please finish the job. Every one of them. And we are going to finish the job, and we're going to finish it very fast. We're getting very close.
President Trump encouraging everyone to have patience. Epic fury is nearing completion. Our allies, well, what's going to happen to them?
And yet we are there to help. We don't have to be there. We don't need their oil. We don't need anything they have, but we're there to help our allies.
So talking about the Middle East allies and challenging the European nations to get on board and take control of that of the straits. Looks like maybe this is going to be a change in strategy, but at least this was a call for patience, because things are going to be coming to a close very soon, and just hold on. Things will be much better. We have all the oil we need. Welcome into Wake Up Missouri. I'm Randy Tobler, Stephanie Bell there, and John Marsh, Drake Whitman. We saw that last night. We saw the Supreme Court arguments yesterday, Stephanie, which were interesting.
Yeah, I saw very differing opinions about how they went. My Twitter was like, that was the best argument ever, and by this person, and then the other people were like, that was the worst. He got destroyed, or she got destroyed. Yeah. Well, on both sides. But I think, I think conservative watchers thought this would be a tough one, and so the judges asked tough questions. But I think most of the speculators, for whatever that's worth, think that this isn't one the administration's going to win. But they weren't expected to win it. But
judges disappointed me. I just. When you look at the plain history of when that was done, when you look at the plain history of what was done, when you look at the plain text and how it was added by a legislator back in the day during that 14th Amendment discussion, it was perfectly clear that they wanted to restrict it. It wasn't supposed to be wide open because jurisdiction of, and Solicitor General Sauer was talking about domicile and allegiance, and how he actually agreed with the precedent that they've used in the past, right? About the Chinese people who had lived here.
Yeah, because that's the case that we talked to Zach Smith about and how they had established a permanent residence here. And I listened to a really long podcast on it, and they said, basically, you surrender your right to be protected by the sovereign, and then you come here and you're, subject yourself to the new kind of, they go way back to like common law and kings and stuff. And it was a long conversation. But I think that's kind of the premise of that case, was that they had renounced even though they had returned to China at one point, they had renounced their allegiance and subjected themselves to the United States jurisdiction. And that's the word that we heard a lot of focus on yesterday.
And you don't hear Jonathan Turley use fiery language once in a while, that often. I mean, he's fairly outspoken and he speaks his piece, but generally he's a little more restrained than he was yesterday before the arguments. Here was this.
This case is that it's hard to really justify the policy when you look at what's happening with, in China alone, hundreds of these tourism sites are sending people over for the sole purpose of having children here. Only a moronic nation would allow that type of industry to flourish. None of our allies do in Europe.
I mean, we're fools. We're being played by fools for basically birth tourism. I didn't realize there were hundreds of these companies in China, but apparently it's quite a land office business. Well, couldn't we, since Marco Rubio controls controls visas, right? State Department.
Okay.
Couldn't they just say there's no more? We're just not having no more Chinese visas. Why not just say that? Just let Chinese people come here.
I don't know that you want to do that.
Well, why wouldn't? I mean, I think we need to stop immigration, all immigration. I thought about this last night. This is maybe different than the birthright citizenship. But we need to stop this immigration because people are taking advantage of us. They're diluting our job pool. And with AI displacing millions of people, tens of millions of people out of their jobs.
There is no evidence of that.
Yes, there is. There's
no,
good
there
evidence.
is not.
Have you talked to people? I've talked to engineers, talked to others.
That's anecdotal.
It's happening. Well, that's what counts. And
show me the report.
Oh, it's happening. Well, no, what we did.
No, you didn't.
Well, no, we've talked about those for months, about how 10,000 people being laid off here.
That's not
30,000 people being laid off there.
We've had mass layoffs at huge companies for years and years because our economy sucks, not because of AI.
No, wait a minute.
I like blaming it on immigration. I don't know about you, Stephanie. It's an easy out.
I think that we've talked
No,
about
all
this
of the
where
educated people.
The analysts have said that it's a lot of these tech companies are laying off coders. They're laying off a lot of things because jobs can be done more efficiently with AI in many job realms.
You keep repeating the same thing, but I'm waiting for your citation to authority.
Well, we've reported. I've reported this from major news reporting arguments. No, I've reported this.
Feel free to send me the report.
Yeah, and it's true. Well, you can laugh at me, but it's going to happen, and we're going to wish that we didn't have as many people coming in from outside this country. And we need to protect our border. We need to protect this country. We need to protect the people in this country. The people that come to this country generally come from countries that expect stuff from the government. They're socialist where they come from. They may want a better life, and maybe but they're not rabid individual freedom, personal responsibility people. They come from socialist countries, and they just want more from the government than their country is presently giving them. I want a better life. Oh, you come from Guatemala. You come from Honduras. I want a better life. Well, of course. Come on in. Drop a baby. And then bring your mom and dad and your uncle and your aunt here. And then you wonder why workers' wages don't keep up with inflation. Hello? I mean, this is not rocket science. I'm telling you, this is not rocket science. We need to restrict immigration. All legal and illegal.
Randy, that is such an old man take, and for once, I actually really agree with you.
Thank you very much.
I really do.
I was just thinking when SNL did Tucker, and they kept repeating, "What are we doing?" I'm going to add the hello to my Randy impersonation.
Well, everyone laughs. As of early 2026, AI has been cited as a contributing factor or rationale behind roughly 100,000 job cuts at U.S.-based companies, with nearly two-thirds occurring last year. It is accelerating. I am telling you, this is going to happen.
You're reading.
No doubt about it. Now, I'm not saying that there won't be some kind of an adjustment and maybe some new jobs, but there's going to be until we've got this figured out, we ought to put a pause on things. And we certainly ought to not let Chinese people come over. We don't have Chinese people coming over here. We got plenty of smart people here. And if Chinese are bent on, new Chinese people, and if they're bent on dropping babies in here, and then with anchor babies having mom and dad and aunt and uncle come here, I'm sorry. There's a lot of nice Chinese people. I eat Chinese foods all the time. Whatever. It's not about that.
This is going downhill
fast.
Stop.
Stop it all. You talk to the Center for Immigration Studies, and they will tell you we have to be careful about our immigration policy. 573-874-9390. Well, look, if you can't so you're okay with people coming over here and dropping babies? Doesn't bother you?
No, I am not.
Well, then what do you want to do about it?
Let the court decide.
Oh, let the courts decide. How's that going to work out for us?
And then, I think that's what we're talking about because the court is going to decide. But like we talked to Zach Smith yesterday, is that Congress does have the authority to do some things. And so we got to get better electeds.
They can't even pay the ICE agents.
I know.
Crying out loud, Congress.
The best post I saw with it was somebody get D. John Sauer a cough drop.
He has a condition, right? So his voice is can sometimes be a little bit unclear. And I saw some chatter on Twitter about that. But no doubt he's one of the smartest lawyers I ever met. And I think a lot of people would say that.
Oh, stop glazing, John. He doesn't need a cough drop. I mean, I hate it whenever someone sounds different, and then they're like, well, it's actually a medical condition. We're still saying it sounds weird.
I'm not saying there's not a lot of nice Chinese people that want to come over.
Are we back on this again?
The problem is you don't know who from China, an arch enemy that is bent on destroying the United States and owning the world. I don't think we should let Iranian people come over here until we've got this figured out. Who's our friend? Who's our enemy? You don't know anymore. And so all you can do is just take a blanket. Look, sorry, Chinese folks that are nice over there that want to come over and whatever, be great American. We don't know who you are. We don't know if you're someone coming over for subterfuge. But all we know is the country you come from is not a country who is out for our good. So just hang out in China. We're going to hang out in America. We're going to get our nuts and bolts straightened out here. And then we'll talk about it. 573-874-9390. Where am I wrong, ladies and gentlemen? I'm not saying that there's not rationale for immigration at some point, but right now the thing is so messed up, and Biden let so many people in. You know, it's sort of like it's like when you're filling your pool or your bathtub. Oh my God, I filled it over. The faucet's running, and thank God for the overflow drain. But even despite the overflow drain, it's still rising. Would you just keep the faucet on and let it run over the tub? No, you turn the faucet off till the tub settles down. And then you figure out at what rate and at what temperature should I keep the water flowing. Biden let things get so... that good analogy, right, Drake? Come on.
It's a great analogy. I don't think I've ever tried to figure out the temperature or the water pressure to make it stay, but...
Oh, we've all done that. You start out with the hot, and then the hot runs out, and then you start out, then you add the cold, and then you wish you would have put the more cold in before you did.
You wish you would have bought a bigger hot water heater to start with.
I think the craziest part about all of this is that the left is, rooting for this open immigration, but you look at the most left countries in the world, you're looking at, Norway, Sweden, all these other, northern European countries, and they have one of the most strict immigration systems where it's almost a case-by-case basis where they individually look at everyone and bring in the brightest people and deny the worst. And I don't get why we don't do that here.
I'm just telling you, we've got to get our P's and Q's sorted out before we open the faucets again. And if the Supreme Court is not going to make the right decision by the American people, they don't want to go back and look at the text and do the right thing. Well, then then just Marco Rubio say sorry, no more. We're just going to no, not going to happen. Sometimes desperate times take bold moves. Stephanie will be back with the bold DC rundown when we come back.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
RS-25 engines lit. 4, 3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. And liftoff. The crew of Artemis II now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
Time for the Daily DC Rundown with Stephanie.
Good roll pitch.
That is so cool. If you missed our interview, we talked to a woman from NASA. What was that, Tuesday morning? You can catch it back on our live stream on Facebook or YouTube, or catch it on our podcast. Get it on the website. Really fascinating conversation. Of course, that was Artemis 2. We are sending 4 astronauts on a 10-day mission around the moon. The liftoff happened last night from Kennedy Space Center. My parents are actually in Florida, and I was watching on Twitter like, hey, you might be able to see it if the conditions are right and, whatever. And I was like, wow, that'd be so cool. This is the first deep space crewed mission in more than 50 years, and the crew is expected to travel farther than any humans in history. I think it won't be until around Monday when they reach the moon's vicinity, and this is set to pave the way for Artemis 4, which is like, what happened? What's Artemis 3? But this is paving the way for Artemis 4, which could land astronauts back on the moon in 2028. So very exciting.
China might land on the near side of the moon, maybe before us. But we want to land on the far side of the moon. That's what I heard.
We're not going to let them beat us. So I'm sure we will. It's just the fact that everything yesterday went smoothly. I think, as far as we know, is a good thing.
Let them build a colony up there. Drop babies up there. Fine for me, not here.
Oh, my goodness. All right, we're going to get to that. Trump had his big address last night. He framed the war as necessary for the safety of America and the security of the free world. He warned he's going to hit Iran extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks, but didn't really, other than that, there's really not a whole lot more details on a timeline or an exit strategy. He suggested that the U.S. has already achieved something very close to regime change, but that we're going to finish the job and fast. Of course, he said we're going to hit them in the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're in week 5. I think initially we were talking 4 to 6 weeks. So, again, there are still, I think, not a lot of answers. Randy, are you feeling...
Colonel Steve Bucci's going to join us at 7:08 and try to help us unpack what this means. I think the biggest thing out of the last 24 or 48 hours of rhetoric is, like, he's about ready to say, Europe, we're done with you.
Yeah.
You want oil through the straits, you go get it.
And, I mean, one thing that didn't get mentioned in the speech was NATO, and Trump's been kind of talking about pulling back from the alliance, but he didn't mention it in the speech. The markets reacted pretty swiftly. Oil prices jumped right after the speech, and we'll get to the futures with the morning bell at 8:25. But right now, the futures are pretty significantly in the red. We talked already a little bit about this, but the birthright citizenship case was argued before the Supreme Court yesterday. The speculators are saying the signals from the questioning, it's not looking great for the administration. A majority of the justices seemed skeptical. The policy would impact about 200,000 babies a year. It's a big number. Randy is cranky this morning. All right. Trump did attend the oral arguments. He sat in the front row. That is historic in and of itself. We are also, we are running out of time, but we've got some, apparently there is some deal making going behind the scenes to try to reopen the Department of Homeland Security. And that agreement, at least as it's being talked about, doesn't include new ICE restrictions, which had been the sticking point. So we'll see where that goes.
Missouri is working on putting some guardrails on AI and adult content. We'll talk about that when we come back on Wake Up Missouri.
Has America been
job. I say real. Stephanie, you say, nah, don't worry about it, right? But there's no doubt that AI has the potential. We've already seen it with fake images of people. Wasn't it Taylor Swift went through something where they really made some images that were very risque and, pornographic, right? So there are some bills that are trying to balance protection of minors versus free speech, right? Mm-hmm. And now in December, we must have talked about this. I'm not sure, though. I don't remember. It was a prominent news item. But in December, Attorney General Catherine Hanaway enforced a rule requiring major purveyors of adult content to ask for proof of ID for access to the content.
Yeah, we did talk about that. And certain providers, I'm not going to mention.
They opted out.
They said, fine, we just won't operate in Missouri.
Okay. But, so that's sort of with the existing so-called adult content platforms, right?
Correct.
But now, what about this age of someone could take and say they've had a beef against someone, they create some AI image of them doing a sex crime or some other crime and ruin their reputation, right? And so I think that's the other guardrail that needs to be talked about. In this case, I think they're talking about creating images or distributing images of minors that are created with AI.
Yeah, but they've also had the conversation, and I think a lot of times in different states it's been kind of called like the Taylor Swift legislation.
Exactly.
And so using someone's image or likeness to create a deep fake or a adult content thing and then distributing it would be, and I think the question is, right now, and this happens a lot in the law, right? Like what crime is that, right? Crimes are like kind of defined in statute. So you get new technologies and you get, which box does that fit in? So making sure that there's a remedy for, and a way to seek justice if that happens to you.
I guess to argue a devil's advocate point, if we're going to try to preempt defaming someone with something you post, why isn't it a crime? Why is it in the civil jurisdiction when there's defamation that goes on otherwise? In other words, what's the difference, right? Is it because we've already decided as a society?
I don't know if it's criminalized or if it's a civil penalty. I do think it's a crime in the new legislation.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Isn't there one piece of legislation out there that's basically, for lack of a better term, a Transparency Act where you have to label and identify AI as AI?
Yes.
Okay.
There's some of that in some of the legislation as well.
Well, I like it.
Well, but I think that's a little bit. I think that's sometimes difficult. And we went to a judicial conference where they said like some courts are now requiring you if you turn something in that in any way you used AI, you have to put I used AI. Well, then my first question is, well, where did you use AI? Did you use, think about a campaign commercial. You use it, and at the very end it says, oh, by the way, I used AI. Well, did you use AI to create your campaign logo, or did you use AI to create a deep fake with your opponent saying something they didn't say, right? So I think, like the disclaimer, I think the practicality of that is difficult, and just because you used AI doesn't necessarily mean you used it in a bad way, right? Like, you could have, again...
Becomes almost a throwaway, you would think. Sort of like where they speed up the end of the political ad and say, this ad generated by AI.
Yeah. But aren't there sort of copyright or trademark type considerations? Like if you wrote a term paper, but it was written by AI, you didn't write the term paper, you stole it, right? And so I don't know. But I guess...
Prove it, right? Yeah.
Who has copyright to something that's generated and you used it? Because
that was a big deal, and I don't know where they landed on that, but like where people were using it to write, and it was pulling from copyrighted material. Now I think AI is good enough that it kind of does it. I think they decided it shouldn't do that, or they were trying to prevent it from doing that. So it's not the same as plagiarism, but again, back to when you get these new tools, sometimes the laws on the books, you got to try to catch up to it. And I think part of the problem, and I think this is becoming apparent, is it's accelerating so rapidly, right? And getting smarter and smarter and doing new things that, the wheels of government don't really work that quickly. And then B, I think even those of us who dabble in it, and certainly I think we don't fully understand it, right? We're not AI experts, and neither are the people that are legislating.
Yeah.
So trying to put guardrails around something that maybe you don't fully understand can be really difficult.
Somebody said that, I think maybe Senator Moon had a piece of legislation over at the Capitol that basically says AI can't be perceived as a real entity, and you can't marry one. Which sounds like a Mike Moon piece of legislation to me.
AI is going to change our world, and that's why I think, especially when it comes to employment, we talked about immigration. I tend to, when there's something that's revolutionary, absolutely generationally, tectonically impactful, I'd rather slow down and try to cut your losses till you sort of know where you're at.
Well, and I mean, one of the other discussions I think now is that the AI companies are lobbying at the federal level to try to get the guardrails up there, because what they're seeing now is kind of a patchwork of different requirements as states kind of do their own thing. And so the other question is, where will those regulations end up? More at the state level, or will the feds come in with something that kind of preempts the state?
Now, you asked for some receipts on AI-driven workforce cuts. Well, I just thought since you asked for them, Counselor, I thought I would give them to you. Accenture laid off 11,000 in December.
And they said it was
tied to how
AI.
work is changing inside the firm. Made clear that instead focusing on automation and AI tools for internal tasks. Amazon laid off. They eliminated 14,000. This was followed. That was in October, and then in January, 16,000 more. Let's see, Drake. Would you add up six? Would you get out your calculator? 16,000 and
no.
Add 14. That comes up to 30,000. Oh, no, chump
Wouldn't
change.
it be really convenient to, like, your business isn't doing that great and you're about to lay off a whole bunch of people and you're like, well, AI.
You think Amazon's business isn't doing great?
No, they're doing great. I just think when we talk, I mean, every business, when they have to do a layoff, right? They have to justify it. And so, we're doing some corporate restructuring and we're getting rid of the middle managers, and, we're able to do more with, or trying to do more with less. And now we're able to do that with AI. I don't think you can point necessarily. And again, we've had mass layoffs, whether it be in manufacturing or big tech, way before AI.
Well, due to recession, yeah, but that's a cyclical thing. AI is not cyclical. It's only going to have more and more impact. I mean, unless you think it's cyclical, you think it's going to go away and then come back and go away.
In mid-Missouri, have you laid off anybody because of AI?
I have not laid off my wife or my two daughters because of AI. No.
That's a bad example, Stephanie.
No, you asked the wrong question there, Counselor.
No, I'm asking the audience. We have some big businesses, some pretty tech-heavy businesses in mid-Missouri. Yeah. I think for Missourians, have you seen it in your own business?
You know what makes me mad about AI, Stephanie?
What?
It's all of the people who make that stupid AI art and post it on their Facebook and do crap like that. It is so cringe. I'm sorry, I cannot stand it.
I did one of those, the little cute cartoons. Those are cute.
Yeah, it's cringe. It's cringe.
Well, I'm
a
millennial, so
yeah. Well, we knew this.
One of our listeners sends us a snapshot of an AI overview. So, with that proviso, Oracle is reportedly laying off thousands of employees, potentially up to 30,000, to fund an aggressive pivot towards AI and cloud infrastructure. I just look, when you're, I don't know, man, when you're in a different environment, when you land in a country you've never been to, Stephanie, do you just go to the farthest back alleys and look for a restaurant? No, you sort of feel your way.
You use AI to find the best restaurant.
Think of all the people you're putting out of work every time you push that AI button. I don't know.
What, the tour guides? Is that who she's putting out whenever she has?
Paul wants to put Randy and Gary in a cage to debate immigration at the White House for the America 250 celebration.
That'd be good. We could stream it live.
I think Gary'd win. He's taller than me. He's just got the big, burly, imposing habitus there. Oh, God told Joshua how to defeat AI, says another listener. I don't know. I just, whenever there's anything sort of new, before I step into the jungle, I want to make sure I'm well armed. I'm going to take slower steps. I'm not going to be walking quickly. I don't know what's around me. I'm going to take it easy. And I think before we continue to let workers continue to stream in, and at the same time have this anchor baby phenomenon, which only proliferates the problem worse. It's exponentially a problem.
So we're going to get an AI Joshua to lead the children across the River Jordan into the promised land, basically, right?
Or maybe we could have some kind of an apparatus in the airport bathrooms with a little pregnancy test in it. Don't give them entrance once you know they're pregnant coming in from overseas.
Oh, my gosh.
Don't drop a baby here. No, it's real. It's a real phenomenon. And other countries, see, this is the difference between what is and what should be. I will tell you what should be. What should be is we need to tighten our borders. We need to do something. I think it may be time to, maybe the Congress needs to pass a constitutional amendment resolution that then needs to be passed. When was the last time we passed a constitutional amendment? It's been a long time.
Good question.
Right?
Was it the 70s?
It's hard to do. But although, I don't know, I saw some poll that said that most Americans are in favor of this birthright citizenship. What are most Americans thinking? Well, if you're for it, let me know. Give us a call, 800-529-5572. Or text us, 573-874-9390.
27th Amendment, 1992 on congressional salaries.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's still, some of them are still getting that, even though DHS employees aren't. What the heck's that all about? What did it go up to, 175K then? I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are you laughing about?
We have laid off several bulls at our farm due to AI. Of course, on the farm, AI means
artificial.
Very good. That's a good one.
Sam, you get winner of the week for that one.
Oh, Sam, that's a winner.
Oh, my gosh.
All right. Well, when we come back, how hard you exercise matters on Make Missouri Healthy Again.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
In the decapitation of Iran, we had to do it ourselves. I have a suggestion. Number one, buy oil from the United States of America. We have plenty. We have so much. And number two, build up some delayed courage. Should have done it before. Should have done it with us, as we asked. Go to the Strait and just take it, protect it, use it for yourselves. Iran has been essentially decimated. The hard part is done, so it should be easy.
Well, a little excerpt from Donald Trump's speech last night. I think projecting a little bit of, hey, I'm tired of messing with you guys. We have our own oil. We're going to take our marbles and go home when this is over. You do what you need to do. Let's see if Steve Bucci, Colonel Bucci, thinks that that's what the message was, as it was an interesting speech last night. Steve, welcome into the program. What is your reaction to the talk last night?
Well, it was amazingly short for a Donald Trump speech, and he stayed clearly on the script. I didn't see any freelancing that is pretty much the norm with him. So his speechwriters were probably thrilled that he actually
right.
listened to him. But it was no surprises. It was basically, this is, I'm reiterating the plan again for, I guess, the subtext being for all those who keep saying has no plan. And we're sticking with it. It's working. We're moving the Iranian enemy, the small group that runs the country, we're moving them to a point of essential weakness. We're getting closer and closer. I mean, one stat he didn't give was that they're down to like 2 to a maximum of 3 retaliatory launches out of Iran a day from, what was a much higher number before. I mean, if you're at the place when the darn thing lands, that's still a bad day, but that's not exactly, robust defense of your country. And, they're recruiting 12-year-olds apparently to try and be part of the home defense force. The Iranians are on the edge. The government could fall at any moment. The people are starting to rise up. So everything Trump said was, nothing new. Now, one thing that he didn't say at all was anything about ground troops. Which is on everybody's mind because there's more and more folks showing up in the region every day. It's a pretty substantial force already. And everybody's thinking, what the heck is President Trump going to do with it? He did not give any reveal about that. And that was probably intentional. One, because I don't think he has made the decision yet to deploy those ground troops. But he wants the option available, number one. And number two, he wants the Iranian government to think, oh, crud. We're making some really cool videos saying how tough our guys are. But we remember that we couldn't even beat the Iraqis a couple of years ago. How in the world do we think we're going to be able to stand up to the Americans? That could be the purpose of those folks being there, or it could be, I was surprised when I woke up this morning that we hadn't invaded because sometimes he doesn't say something specifically when he's about to do it. So I was pleased with the speech a lot because I didn't have to take notes for 2 hours or anything. But it's I think he's staying on message. He's going to continue doing what we're doing. And he's like the Europeans in particular to come and help with regard to the Straits, but he knows we're already taking care of it, and we have some others that are ponying up: the Japanese, the Koreans, the Indians, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Chinese said, "Oh yeah, we'll come help too," because they want their oil out. Now they've gotten some out, but they'd like a free flow of it. I'm not sure we want that because the Chinese are a pain in the neck. They're spying on everybody the whole time they're there. But it's, look, we got 3 more weeks before even Trump's deadline is met. why in the world are everybody clutching their pearls and swooning and saying, "Oh my God, we've lost"?
He did
last time.
And he did, Steve, talk about referencing the length of prior wars. I think that was probably one of the goals, to sort of put it in perspective, no?
I think so, too. He's trying to call out these folks, the doom and gloom folks, to say, what the heck? When have wars ended in a day? Yeah. That's just, if people think that's really a possibility, they're kind of delusional. So it's... I was pleased with it, and I may have a different view in 3 weeks. I don't know, but right now I think we're staying on track, and what we're doing is pretty amazing.
That's Stephen Bucci, visiting fellow for Special Ops Disaster Management at Heritage Foundation. We talked to him for that insight in what the heck is going on over there, because I know everyone in the context of the long war, the never-ending war of the early part of this century, everyone's keeping an eye on things, and it's good to have that well-informed and experienced eye of Colonel Bucci join us on Wake Up, Missouri.
Colonel, kind of a broken record question for you, but we've asked you before about, and maybe your opinions changed about, what's your take on boots on the ground as it might be Delta, SEALs, special activities folks from the CIA referencing the remaining enriched uranium and the president threatening to go in and seize it?
Well, the president was very realistic about that. He said, look, we've destroyed the facilities. We've destroyed them again from the Midnight Hammer a year ago, and now again with this operation. Unless they've got some storage site that they haven't talked about, and neither have we, and I don't know about, to my knowledge, most of the enriched uranium is under a lot of rubble. It's not stored in some pristine scientific warehouse somewhere with guys in white suits. So first, we need to have, I think we have a general idea where the enriched uranium was stored, but we don't know specifically, because if you're going to go in and try and extract that stuff, you've got to do it. It has to be very precise. You have to know exactly where you're going. You have to know generally what size packages you're talking about moving, because it's not like you can go in with a bunch of wheelbarrows and shovels, throw the uranium into the wheelbarrows and drive them away. Logistically, it's a pretty daunting task, even if you were in a permissive environment, let alone one that would be occurring in the midst of a potentially hostile environment. So he said we're going to watch the areas where we know the stuff was, and if anybody starts moving in that area, we're going to start pummeling them again. So the best for them just to stay away from those areas. We do have a pretty good ISR capability, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. The Israelis have an amazing human network inside Iran who are looking for everything, and eventually they'll run out of people to, drop bombs on, so they have other things they need to do. But it's a possibility, but it's a real rare one. I think a more likely use of those ground forces would be to control Karg Island in particular, and some of the other islands in the Gulf and the Straits, which could those.
Seems like we have lost them.
What happened? I don't know. Well, we had a little technical glitch there.
It's those darn Iranians.
But we were going to talk about
my
allies.
last question for him was going to be, what do we do about the Europeans? Is there any way to, get our allies to do anything? But yeah, I think we're having some technical difficulties this morning.
I don't know.
We got to play the kid audio next about Artemis.
I like the fact that he is reassuring us that probably the president knows exactly how much work is left to be done. Mm-hmm. And yes, it will take a couple more weeks, but they are being decimated. And let's bring him back. You got him back on? Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, sorry for the disconnect there, Steve.
In the last minute that we have, I wanted to ask you about our allies. Is there anything Trump can do? I mean, he seems really frustrated, and they seem kind of dug in.
With some of them, no. Spain, clearly, they're not going to play. They're going in the opposite direction. I found out they're even selling stuff to the Iranians to help them. Yeah, they really have gone off the edge. The others, there's always a possibility they're going to wake up and join in, particularly in the post-conflict stuff, which is okay because we don't want to do all that stuff. We want to have some say in it, but we don't necessarily want to administrate it. They could come in there. Look, NATO's not dead, but it's some of our allies are not playing nicely, and they're doing it in kind of crappy ways. So there's friction there that I feel badly that it's there because I think NATO still has some value, but that's going to be kind of up to our allies if they want to let this slide worse or try and fix it.
Last lightning round question here. Iran on Tuesday said they were going to launch cyber attacks on 18 different tech companies. Saber rattling or some reality there?
They have a cyber capability. I don't think they're going to do much damage. They are not, like a first-tier cyber capable country, but their capability is not zero. So people need to be aware, and I think our folks are. They're going to protect us as best we can. The private companies, they got to watch themselves because sometimes their own humans are their worst enemy.
All right. Well, informed from boots on the ground in theater and in the Pentagon and all the rest, that's Stephen Bucci. And we appreciate you being with us, Steve. We'll look forward to next conversation next week. I'm sure we'll have a whole bucket of stuff to talk about then.
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
Thank you, sir. Take care. Well, that's something else. Well, you know what? There's one little guy that was watching that launch that's really excited about it. And he's become an ex-phenom. That when we come back.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
3, 2, 1. Booster ignition. And liftoff. The crew of Artemis II now bound for the moon. Humanity's next great voyage begins.
And that was the slightly delayed liftoff of Artemis 2 last night. They're in Earth orbit now, and I think later today, after they've checked out all the systems, they will be heading up to the moon and go further, I guess, deeper into space, a manned mission in a wide orbit around the moon, like a loop around the moon, and then come back. I don't know. Are they going to orbit the moon or just make one loop? I think it's maybe just one loop, and then come back. But I guess the next step will be to jettison one more stage of the rocket, and then they'll just be in the capsule. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. Now, there was, I remember the days when, and I guess yesterday, I didn't see pictures of the crowds, but remember when it was Cape Kennedy, Cape Canaveral, and John, you remember the pictures of thousands of people watching.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, big deal.
Especially the shuttle launches.
Yeah, the shuttle launches, all that. And we were talking earlier, do we know how this is going to land? Are they going to land it back on the pad?
Or do a
No,
splash?
it's going to land, they said, in the near Pacific, near San Diego.
Okay. And did they land the booster upright like Elon likes to do, or did it splash into the ocean? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think so.
We'll
I
have to
think
check
it
that
was.
out. Well, there was one young lad who, well, let's just say he was quite passionate about his enthusiasm about the flight, and it was interesting. How old do you think this kid is, Stephanie?
I don't know, 10,
10
8.
maybe. Here it is.
Why do you want to be here? Why do you love space? Why do you love being a part of history?
We're going back to the moon. That's why.
That was on CNN. And he's like the nerdiest little kid.
Yeah.
Like if you drew up a caricature of a nerdy space kid, it would be him. He's got like a GoPro on his hat.
On the bill of his baseball cap.
And they were like, this kid looks innocent. Let's ask him, why are you excited to be here?
Because we're going back to the effing moon.
Duh. I love that.
He's a little pudgy, and it's really a cute kid.
We were talking earlier about how we didn't think there had been any issues, but apparently they got a potty problem on Artemis already.
Yeah, there appears to be
the fan in their toilet is a problem, and they said it's fine if you have to do number 2, but if you have to do number 1, they have an issue. So then I'm thinking, and this was that was one of the highlights of this new thing was the space toilet, and it's already broken. Apparently.
Yep.
But they are sending instructions to the astronauts about how to fix the toilet fan.
NASA calls this new innovation the Universal Waste Management System that deals with urine collection.
That's right. I've got a special feature on that on Eagle Eye Drive at 5 this afternoon. So there.
Wonder if the mouse got into the cooling fan on that. Had that happen once on the refrigerator at the cabin. Well, all of a sudden things were not being cooled well, and I couldn't figure out what it was. So I rolled it out and looked, pulled off that back little masonite piece, and there was a mouse that gotten in. Well, because it was warm in there. We don't keep the cabin during the winter, at 80 degrees, 70 degrees. We chill it off. So I guess the mouse had come in and found the warmest spot in the house, which was the motor and the condenser, for the refrigerator. Crawled in through one of these little tiny slits, as you see in the back of the access panel there, and got stuck in that fan blade. So I de-stuck it, and away we go. I doubt there was any mice or problems there. They have a backup waste management capability, though, specifically for Europe, so we're all good.
Called open the hatch.
I think just local news is like the most important stuff to me, even though it's kind of like
They call me king now. Do you believe it? No king. I'm such a king, I can't get a ballroom approved. Pretty amazing, right? I'm a king. If I was a king, we'd be doing a lot more. I'm doing a lot, but I could be doing a lot more if I was a king.
That was Donald Trump at an Easter proclamation ceremony. He also had one for, I don't know if it was the same time, but he also did a Passover, remark as well. So all of you are celebrating either Passover or Holy Week for Christians. Why? We hope that it's meaningful for you this time. I know we're enjoying this time this week. Okay, now we've been talking. I wanted to bring your attention to this. You know how yesterday we were talking about AI and how everyone has their favorite. Some it's what's it called? The Open AI, Chat GPT, right?
Yes.
Then there's
Google,
Claude from Anthropic. There's
Google Gemini,
which is it's almost automatic now when you browse on
Microsoft Copilot.
There's Copilot, and then there's Grok. I am Grok. Like I am Groot. And I used to think I liked Grok, but I found Grok in pulling some funny stuff. And then I was really proven yesterday when I saw Harmeet Dillon's post, and I read down into the comments. Very interesting. Once in a while, going down the rabbit hole is very instructive. When you see something and you go like, "Oh, really?" And this was fascinating. So Harmeet Dillon said, remember yesterday, the president was the first president to sit that we can tell, that anyone can chronicle, to go to a Supreme Court argument, right? The argument was about birthright citizenship. We've talked about that later.
Oh, right.
So he went there. And some have said, well, this is a separation of powers problem. The president should honor that and not be there getting in the face of the judiciary, right?
And Harmeet said, you dummies.
Yeah, Harmeet says there's literally a chair set up at SCOTUS for our presidents to sit in for oral argument. Your separation of powers nonsense is more imitation pearl clutching hutcher. Whoa. Okay, Harmeet, give it to him. And I went down and I looked. Here's a document that she reposted from the national.
Then, folks, like the liberal bar comes in and they're like, we are there all the time. And no, you're totally wrong.
Right. And then she reposts something that says, at the left of the bench is the clerk of the court's desk. The clerk is responsible, blah, 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 blah. And she posts something that says basically there is a seat under the National Register of Historic Places Inventory nomination form. Okay, from the Interior Department, National Park Service. So she brings the receipts, right?
Yes.
And says that. Well, I read down 2 comments, and then someone asks the inevitable, Grok, is this true? Grok says, no, that's not true. The Supreme Court courtroom has fixed seating, justices' bench, counsel tables, bar section, press area, and public gallery. No dedicated or reserved chair for presidents exists for oral arguments.
Did Harmeet at Elon? Because I know they know each other. I'm sure I would assume she'd send that to him and be like, what's up with this?
Descriptions from SCOTUS visitors' diagrams and recent high-profile attendees confirm this. No sitting president has ever attended arguments in 235 plus years. Okay. So we go back and you go down even more, and then someone looks it up, and finally you go down there, and finally Grok is challenged. And when Grok is challenged enough, Grok comes back and says, oops, I got it wrong.
Yep.
Grok was going on the historical precedent that it hadn't been utilized. But Grok eventually came back and said, oh, you caught me on that. And I've caught Grok in that kind of a deal before, sometimes with like medical stuff. They say, are you sure about that? I'll just ask him a question just for fun. This is what I think I want to do. What do you think, Grok? And Grok will come back. It mostly gets it right, but that often is not the case. And so you got to be careful. Grok will once in a while mess you up. And I don't know, maybe Grok is not the one to be, but they all can make mistakes, right, Steph? I mean, that can happen.
Yeah, for sure.
But I thought that was wild. And at first, Google Gemini, though, told another commenter that, first, Google Gemini told me no, she writes. When I pushed back and said the AAG of the Justice Department disputes this, it only replied with information that there was a debate over it. And when she told Google Gemini, I don't care about the debate, I was only asking for the right answer, Google Gemini came back and said, yes, in fact, there is a chair there. Which means I think we still are in that age where, goes back to an earlier discussion we had about AI. I think we got to really hold our horses here before we dive all the way in and just say, whoopee, yay, AI is going to be the salvation to everyone's problems. And then I saw a paper, I know you don't like the research papers, but I saw the paper, Stephanie, about sycophantic AI that basically continues to tell you what you want, and the more you agree with them. And I think for young people that maybe, teenagers that may not be discerning, maybe older people who, may have some early cognitive stuff, which happens naturally as we get age, it might begin to fall prey to AI falsehoods, right? I mean, so we ought to be careful about that.
Should we be concerned about AI-driven surgeries in the healthcare arena as it stands right now, or do they have enough oversight?
I have more faith in very specific, task-oriented AI, either initial read or overread or scrutiny of a human read. They're already using AI to assist in the reading of pap smears, in the reading of radiology images. And I think it's good. It might, you look at a fatigued radiology. Everyone gets fatigued, right? Maybe they fatigued, and there's something you look through, hundred of images on a CT scan or an MRI, and you could say, well, you get focused on maybe one abnormality, and it's that anchoring bias. The nature is, and I know they're trained not to do this, but the anchoring bias is, wow, I got to describe that and make sure I, highlight this and what could it be and what's the next step, and then you miss a little thing that might or might not be consequential, 20 images later. So that's where I think it comes in. Just another set of eyes, the AIs, looking at it, if you will. So I think of it as AEYE in that setting, AI. I think it's also going to be helpful, as I said yesterday, with putting together what it can be an increasingly huge data bank of information, genetic information, pharmaceutical processing information. People process pharmaceuticals differently based on some of their enzyme realities, liver, capacities and limitations and sluggishness. So I think it's going to be helpful. We got to keep an eye on it. It's a Reagan thing. Don't trust and verify.
I know I saw a piece on one of the TV shows where they were showing some AI automated surgery, and it was one focused on closing and doing the suturing and all that, which was kind of interesting to watch.
Yeah, I think for those procedures that are very rote and very repetitive, low risk, maybe, and increasingly, maybe the end of a case where you're closing the various tissue layers. You get a patient that's had 5 previous operations. I don't know how AI is going to handle that. How is an AI robot used to doing the routine closure of, say, a C-section, right? C-section closure becomes pretty automatic, pretty routine. You do enough of them. Well, what happens when you run into a roadblock? Will AI be able to then flex and be helpful that way? I don't know. It'd be nice. Boy, you talk about a revelation for rural health care. If we could ever get the lag time down from the camera to the processor back to the business end of the tool, if you could get that, that latency down to essentially nothing, a millisecond.
It's a big thing on trying to be less invasive, right? Isn't that a big part of it?
Yeah, use robotic stuff. Yeah, you're right. Well, so this was interesting. Arguing with Grok becomes a new pastime for a lot of people. One commenter says, arguing with Grok is my new favorite way to lose time. Grok said on this issue, yes, I was wrong. I stated flatly there is no literal chair for dedicated presidential seat. The 1986 National Register of Historic Places gives a black chair in front of those benches are for the officers of the court, visiting dignitaries, and in bold, a special chair for the President of the United States, although the President's attendance is rare and limited to important ceremonial occasions. So having it there during the arguments was interesting and not at all very common. 573-874-9390. Bruce says, and I think Stephanie will agree on this one, we all agree, Good morning. Harmeet Dillon is absolutely awesome. She should run for president. She is great.
I am her biggest fan.
She has brought true fairness and equal application of the civil rights laws to the Justice Department. I don't remember the last time that's happened. And she's been very vocal about that. Like, no matter who you are, there's a law that protects your civil rights. And we're not just going to protect minority civil rights or LGBTQ. We're going to protect
women.
everyone.
Yeah, everyone. Yeah.
What a novel idea.
And she's a genuinely good person.
Yes. Yes.
If you don't know my story, I've told this before, but before I got into radio, she was one of the only people. They were involved in a big recall in California,
Mm-hmm.
and she was one of the only people that I knew that was litigating heavily and doing media.
Mm-hmm.
And I reached out to her and I said, hey, like, I'm thinking about, doing some media,
Mm-hmm.
but, not ending my legal career.
Yeah.
And you're doing it really successfully. And she said, give me a call, and spent time on the phone with me, kind of walking me through and giving me some advice. And she didn't have to do that, right? She was already a big deal at the time.
That's right.
She's just a genuinely nice person. And of course, before she got into the Trump administration, I got to know her through election integrity efforts, and kind of she spent countless hours advocating for people who needed advocates and volunteering and working on these election integrity campaigns in years. I mean, she won RNLA Lawyer of the Year, I don't know, in 2018.
Yeah.
So it's like, we've all known what a bad A attorney she's been for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
but it's nice to see her kind of like really, I think she was exactly the right person to take on this role. And it's nice that, everyone else is now on Team Harmeet, it seems. And I mean, I don't know if she has any desire to run for public office, but I think if she ever did, she'd be pretty popular.
And in her post, she used the word hauteur, Hauteur, referring to arrogant people and that refers to a lofty,
smart.
arrogant manner. And the person that posted that said, I love smart conservative ladies. That's true. But that's redundant. Most conservative ladies are smart by definition, right? That's just goes hand in hand. If you're smart, how can you be anything but conservative? Oh boy, I'm going to get myself in trouble with the liberal people out there. John, what's happening when we come back?
I detect the hint of butterscotch in black cherry tones with a subtle note of Oscar Mayer in the background.
Wienermobile coming up.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
Well, hot diggity bourbon. Costco has released a private label whiskey inspired by the chain's famous $1.50 hot dog and soda food court combo. It's called I Got That Dog in Me, produced by Rare Character Whiskey, priced at $90 a bottle, but diehard fans are snapping it up. Bourbon clearly pays homage to Costco's beloved hot dog combo, with the bottle actually featuring a picture of an all-beef Frank and a fountain soda. The TikTokers say, a little leather on the nose for me. The finish goes on forever. Excellent bottle and happy to pay what I paid for it. Another joke, subtle notes of hot dog water. Limit of 1 bottle per membership, 126 proof. This guy says this stuff is genius. I would buy it even if it sucked. The best one, though, brilliantly suggesting on TikTok, should have a mini hot dog inside it, the bottom of the bottle, like the worm, in Mezcal.
Oh, man.
So there you go. $90 a bottle, 126 proof.
How do...
Man, oh man, drink it or clean your watch in it or fill your zip
Yeah,
up.
wow. We'll clean your battery post with that stuff. How do they get that? Do they infuse that with a hot dog in the?
It did not indicate.
Wonder how they get that flavor in there.
Oh.
You know, they make gin by taking the clear liquor that otherwise I think would be basically like vodka.
And then put all little botanicals
and they
in
put
it.
a little sachet of botanicals in it. Juniper and other things, right?
So this one little baby Oscar Mayer cocktail wiener at the bottom of the bottle.
Basically,
I could see on the instead of olives on the end of a stick. Yeah, John, a little cocktail weenie.
There you go. So make kind of like an old fashioned with it.
You can stir it with a.
Somehow that's just a taste profile that absolutely I have zero interest in.
I've never been eating a hot dog and thought, man, I wish this was liquid.
Yeah,
I wish I could drink this.
Wish I had a bourbon on the side to go with my hot dog at the ballpark.
Can you get at the ballpark? Can you get cocktails, mixed drinks? Is it all just beer?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't go to the ballpark much. Oh, Cardinals.
You should go. They're doing some deals, and they've got they're really upping their food game too.
Are they?
Yeah.
Well, when the play on the field is so bad, you better have some good food to keep you entertained when it comes to the Cardinals, right? How are they doing so far?
I thought they were doing
They
better.
did pretty well right off the bat, I know.
Whenever we're asking and saying, "Oh, they're doing better in April," that's a bad sign. Me and Scott Fawn fall in the same camp there.
Yeah, pretty much.
One of these years,
I'll give you my bike if you can prove you know your finances. Sure. How
one
many
of these years, Scott may be proved wrong. 20 years from now, Ali Marmol may win the pennant. You never know. After they go through 19 building years.
Yeah, keep your day
Ali
job.
Marmol the third. I don't know about that. Got a text from Texter Tim who says, gooey butter cake on a stick at the Cardinal game.
Ooh, interesting.
How about that?
I don't know.
That sounds
I'm
good.
pretty traditional. Just give me those bright yellow chips with the bright yellow cheese.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Or like a pretzel with cheese.
Yeah. That would be at the RFK booth. You get that from...
There you go. A lot of the ballparks, Busch Stadium included, have gone to all-you-can-eat areas.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I did that once, and it
part
was
of your ticket.
We actually talked about doing that again this summer. It was awesome. The ticket wasn't that expensive, and you got there early, and they had a buffet.
Not a party booth, but
It was open to the public.
Wow.
But you're on the patio in kind of in the outfield, but the seats
like
were
home
great.
run land out in that neck of the woods out there.
I don't know exactly, but we had a great time.
Wow.
And it was relatively inexpensive.
From parties to polyps, I get a text from one of my very, very good GI buddies that says when AI is used to help with the colonoscope to find polyps, it actually can increase the detection rate because it highlights but when it's not used, people who have been using it and then don't use it, their skill level goes down. So what happens if your AI fizzles out? Then the naked eye has lost its skill set. There you go. Are we going to be dumbed down?
You're
Bell.
This has to end. We have a core responsibility to keep our government open.
The Zimmer News Team.
Ultimately, the reason why Cuba's a disaster is because their economic system doesn't work.
And now, introducing your host, Randy Tobler.
Wants this to go to Congress. I think the Trump administration wants the Supreme Court to hold that there's an absolute rule that says you can't be a citizen just because you're born in the United States. And the ACLU wants a rule that doesn't allow Congress to in any way interfere with birthright citizenship. So I think neither side wants to see Congress in this act, but it has to be. The amendment itself gives to Congress the right to implement this amendment, and it can do it in a way that makes sense. Look, birthright citizenship makes no sense at all if it's applied to people who have no connection to this country, who happen to have been born as many.
Well, that's Alan Dershowitz saying this makes no sense at all. Jonathan Turley says only a moronic country allows birthright citizenship to happen. And those were the issues in focus yesterday in the Supreme Court with Donald Trump attending as the arguments went on and on and on. And Stephanie Bell, the Donald Sauer's argument.
Did you just say Donald?
Did I say Donald Sauer?
John Sauer.
John Sauer, sorry. I'm Donald Trump, John Sauer. John Sauer's arguments, former Solicitor General here from Missouri, right?
Yes, yeah, did some time in private practice.
And now
Harvard.
Now the Solicitor General for the United States.
Yes.
So he was making the argument that the intent of the amendment was for people who had allegiance to, were domiciled in, what does domiciled in mean legally? We know what domicile is. It's a home, right?
Yeah.
So someone that has basically sworn off of their previous allegiance by virtue of, adopting residency here, right? And for some reason, I don't know, the consensus, you say you saw in your Twitter feed, rah-rah on both sides. I saw most like, it appears as though the Supreme Court's going to just uphold what's been going on now. You drop a baby here and the baby's a citizen.
Yeah, I would say just with like the delivery of the argument about the questioning and the lawyer's performance, I kind of saw, on both sides, he was awesome, he was terrible, she was awesome, she was terrible. I saw a little bit of that, but I think even the people who think that John Sauer did a masterful job, which I think he did, think that based on the court's questions and the issue presented, like the court was it was going to be skeptical, it was skeptical, and that likely is going to rule against the administration, is what the court watchers say.
Yeah, but I hear this argument that at the time, Jonathan Turley said this the other day, that at the time of the first draft of the amendment did not have that subject to the jurisdiction of clause in there. Mm-hmm. And that was put in there to try to emphasize that jurisdiction doesn't just mean, well, you're in the United States and therefore you're, quote, under the jurisdiction. That's a really broad interpretation. It was meant by I think it was a woman who put that in there, legislator, to mean, no, this is someone who has expressed their allegiance to the jurisdiction of, which is a different thing.
Yeah, and that was the podcast that did a deep dive. It was like going back to almost like kingdoms and like old times, and saying like, when you pledged allegiance to the king, you got the protections, that from the king of, whatever the protections were at the time. And so there's some nuance there with jurisdiction. And when you get into like Native Americans, they got into this long conversation, because and people get into this about like, well, even if someone's here temporarily and they commit a crime, then they can still be prosecuted for the crime. So they're subject to some of the jurisdiction. And so there's this question of, and with Native Americans, they are, in some ways they are subject to our jurisdiction, in other ways they weren't. And, they have their own tribal courts. So there's this nuance of like, do you have to be partially like, or does it have to be the full jurisdiction? It gets really interesting, and it's not my...
Well, subject to the laws, to me, just because you're traveling, is a vastly different... I mean, when I travel to Mexico...
If you kill someone...
I know if I do something wrong, the Mexican authorities are going to get on my tail,
but
right?
You can't
That's
show up,
different
but
than
you can't show up in a Mexican court and try to bring a suit about a contract.
Right.
You don't have that power as a traveler, right?
So
it's like, what does that word subject to jurisdiction mean?
KBJ, obviously, we know where she stands.
I was thinking about this, and I think there are various sources that say this, that you obviously have permanent allegiance based on being born in whatever country you're from. That's what everybody recognizes. But you also have local allegiance when you are on the soil of this other sovereign.
Now, wait a minute. She used the word you can have local allegiance when you're on the soil of a foreign country. Listen. And
I was thinking, I, a U.S. citizen, am visiting Japan. And what it means is that, if I steal someone's wallet in Japan, the Japanese authorities can arrest me and prosecute me. It's allegiance, meaning can they control you as a matter of law? I can also rely on them if my wallet is stolen to, under Japanese law, go and prosecute the person who has stolen it. So there's this relationship based on, even though I'm a temporary traveler, I'm just on vacation in Japan, I'm still locally owing allegiance in that sense.
No. Do I need to go march up there and knock on KBJ's door and say,
I don't think you're going to get that far.
Excuse me, Justice Brown Jackson, I'm looking at the Oxford Language Dictionary definition of the word allegiance, because you used it 3 times in that absurd argument. Allegiance, Oxford Language Dictionary. Loyalty or commitment of a subordinate to a superior or of an individual to a group or cause. Being submitted to the laws of a country you're visiting are absolutely different than loyalty or commitment to said country.
Yeah,
no?
You're a guest. You're not allegiant to the country.
You talk about twisting. So this is what progressives do all the time. They just take something and they twist it to where it's like they take a beautiful piece of dough that's going to be a glazed donut, a round glazed donut. And they twist it into one of those twisty donuts. You know what I mean? One of those twisty, that's what they do all the time.
Still
unrecognizable as a ringed glazed donut.
One thing I know John Sauer brought out briefly, that the whole thing of birthright citizenship is a New World phenomenon. I mean, you go back to Europe and Asia and all the African countries and all, they've never had this. No. But boy, go to South America, Canada and Mexico and all the Caribbean nations. And so it sort of swings back to the whole debate about the emancipation of the slaves in all these countries in the New World.
Yeah. And I know I was a little bit hyperbolic when I said, but if the Supreme Court is not going to sort this out the way common sense look at the history of and the intent of, which was for the slaves, it was for the babies of the slaves. It was a very restrictive idea at the time. And if they're going to somehow, in a twisted why are the liberal? Why Alito, Kavanaugh? Oh, Clarence, please don't do this. Then what are Americans to do but to say, you know what? Maybe we just need to shut down immigration altogether. I mean, after all, don't we all submit to a restriction of our rights because of a few bad apples?
And there's a pathway to citizenship, whether you're, whether you're a kid or an adult.
And that information out of the Center for Immigration Studies that we've cited many times, that over 50% of immigrants here, legal and illegal, are getting some kind of welfare. I mean, on many grounds, I just think it's time to maybe turn off the immigration faucet. You don't know who's coming in for what reason. Are they here as terrorists? Are they here as baby tourists? And it's not to individual Chinese person coming into the country may be fine, but I don't know. So just say no, just blanket. Sorry, we're just not going to stop it for a minute while we let Markwayne Mullin, let Marco Rubio get together and sort of sort this out. How are we going to vet people? The Congress needs to get their act together. Congress, you need to get your act together. Come back. I'll buy you a spiral baked ham. Put it in the Oval Office. Let's have a party and get your work done. Come back. Get some work done.
Have Easter brunch there.
Yeah.
In
Well,
D.C.
Trump was going to do that.
Yeah, I know.
I'll buy the ham.
So, Randy, I agree with you on everything except how are we supposed to get the stud athletes from like Eastern Europe and China and all of that? Like those guys are awesome to watch, and I don't want to live in a world without them right now. They are awesome. Come on.
I'll let that statement stand on its own, Drake. That can be judged on its own.
I think the International Olympic Committee just ruled on those athletes and said they can't take part in women's sports with those extra chromosomes.
No, I mean, look, you look at this is really sad because Ketanji Brown Jackson is really, I mean, why wasn't anyone, do you think that her colleagues would call her and say, hey, KBG, allegiance doesn't mean just, that you're guilty if you steal someone's wallet in Japan and therefore you get punished by the Japanese authorities. That's not you're not showing allegiance. You're showing you're being brought to justice. That's totally different. I mean, would she like to say that the guy that killed Laken Riley was allegiant to the United States because he's going to get punished for killing her? I mean, really? Are you saying that? Come on, KBG. I don't know. I'm very troubled by what I hear sometimes up in those arguments. I don't know. A black robe just imparts a lot of power to someone. I don't know. A lot of power. And maybe they should think about what those decisions are doing. 573-874-9390. I don't even know if I want to know what's going on in the markets. Do you want to know, John?
Sure you do.
We have
Stephanie,
to.
Do you want
it's
to
called
know?
The Morning Bell.
Well, I want to know the Morning Bell, but
you
can we
want to know
talk
whether
about?
You should be buying a lot today.
Can we talk?
Can we
talk about something other than the markets? Oh, Ann wants to. Ann, real quickly, what's up? Ann?
Ketanji Brown, hello. Ketanji Brown Jackson can't define what allegiance is because she can't even define what a woman is.
Fair point.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Appreciate it. Let's go for the Morning Bell when we come back. Hold on to your horses. Oil prices, I don't know which way they're going.
It's Wake Up Missouri.
Belle, what's going on, Steph?
Good news first. Yesterday, we were actually up. We
Yay.
had the Dow up 0.48%, the S&P up 0.72%, the NASDAQ up 1.16%. The bad news is, looks like we're going to erase those gains today. When we look at the sectors, we had industrials and technology up big yesterday with energy down pretty big. But the futures are all more than 1% in the red this morning. So the markets reacted pretty swiftly after Trump's speech.
Wow.
And with no end in sight, the uncertainty always sends us into a downward
How do you
spiral.
interpret oil up $12?
Yeah.
To $112. Why is that overnight?
I think because we don't know what's happening with the Strait of Hormuz and we don't know what's happening with the war.
I think because it is a global market. Don't you think that Trump is basically, he's doing a Pontius Pilate with this, right? I mean, he's basically, I'm washing my hands of this. I'm not dealing with this. You guys handle it. We're going to take care of our mission. We've got our oil. I'm tired of playing with you people.
Yeah. That's basic economics 101. If the consumer has less money to spend on other stuff, he doesn't prop up the economy. He's just spending it on energy.
Yeah.
It's tough. Okay, so if you need to make a buck, or if you are in my realm of life and you've got kids that are headed to school, or maybe you're early in your career and you think maybe I should go back to school and get that advanced degree, there's a new study out. Is grad school worth it? It's complicated. It depends. The traditional lawyer answer, right? It depends. So there's a new study out. Researchers looked at 800,000 students over nearly 30 years and asked, was grad school actually worth the money? There are some clear winners. Randy, you and I, obviously, winners. The degrees that are absolutely worth it. Doctors, they calculated 173% return. Pharmacists, a 68% return. Lawyers, a 41% return. And so they're saying those, go get it. And actually, I went to a Mizzou Law School event this week, and they said, the national average for law school applications is up pretty significantly, but Mizzou far surpasses. They're getting tons more applications and interest in their program. So good on them for that.
Those in education, right? To get tenure, you've got to have advanced degrees.
That's right. Well, here are the ones where they said it depends. MBAs come in at only about a 13% return. So they said it's not the golden ticket that people assume. And they said there's some nuances. Where you go often matters. What you specialize in often matters. And the timing can matter depending on the economy and job availability. The surprising losers, clinical psychology has a negative 5% return.
Yeah.
And they said social work in similar fields are often negative.
And you wonder why we have a shortage of mental health professionals.
So they said, this study did things differently. It factored in not only tuition costs, but your years in school when you're not earning, the opportunity costs. And so it really was kind of doing an ROI on these, these are big life decisions. So they said even with safe fields like pharmacy, they said the ROI on those degrees is shrinking. Even though it's still positive, it's getting less as we have come into the modern era. So
you've mentioned, we've talked about the impact of AI on your field, that you use it, as basically some research help and stuff. But will it, at sort of the fundamental levels, like arguing a traffic ticket or something, is that going to displace a lot of lawyers that just need to get some work right out of school? Or
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
No, I don't think it's going to replace lawyers.
Not replace, but I mean, what if someone brings you a draft from AI and they say, hey, can you check out this contract?
Why don't you try again? I don't care if you used AI to help you in the drafting, but it better be a good product that you have reviewed and is worthy.
There you go. Free legal advice from Stephanie.
No legal
Come and see
advice
Stephanie
here.
for legal advice. We'll be back. Stay tuned.
Has America been fair to Donald Trump? The people
and no Israel right now, in my opinion, the opinion of a lot of great experts. Had I not terminated that terrible deal, and I was so honored to do it. I was so proud to do it. It was so bad right from the beginning. Essentially, I did what no other president was willing to do. They made mistakes, and I am correcting them.
There's a lot of truth to that. We've talked about immigration and what Joe Biden, the mess that Joe Biden left with Donald Trump in his second administration. Certainly the economy, so sacrificed economic security and health to the whole green agenda. And, you think about, and then administration after administration letting the Iranians just continue to march towards that enrichment capacity that would ultimately, and at the same time, missile capacity that would ultimately be able to combine to give a nuclear-tipped missile. And we found out last week that, 4,000-kilometer range rather than 2,000. They hit that, Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean. And finally, Trump's just like, I know this isn't politically popular. It's not helping my numbers, but it's the right thing to do. Is that a guy in his second term that's how old? Who's saying, I'm at that point where it doesn't matter what people think and what they, even though I think that does matter to him, but he's looking at the big picture, the long legacy, historical, what do people think? I believe that. Why else in this midterm that historically is going to absolutely result in toast for why would you take that kind of political risk unless you thought it was truly the right thing to do? How's your patience hanging out? Wake up, family. 573-874-9390. Did the president's talk last night inspire you? Did it encourage you? Did it give you a little life on your Pac-Man? You get a little extra charge, whether on video games. Yeah, you get a little extra life.
Randy, you should never talk about video games again. You just brought up Pac-Man.
Okay, City, what's it called? Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto. That's still popular.
Okay,
yeah.
Grand Theft Auto. Okay, there you go. Pac-Man. Asteroids.
Right, Asteroids.
Remember Asteroids?
Asteroids was great.
It was fun. Oh, I'll bet Asteroids is being played by some youth as we speak.
And its close partner, Galaxion.
Yes.
Old school.
Yeah, with the rockets from below. Yeah.
Yep.
I was surprised that Trump was more restrained than I would have expected him to be, last night. And again, a lot of people were saying it was sort of a meh speech, it didn't really offer much. But our guest, Steve Bucci, if you didn't hear him, you'll hear it on the podcast later. Steve Bucci was with us at 708, and he said, he was so subdued and stayed on script and didn't talk about boots on the ground or anything. He said, I was afraid I'd wake up this morning to an invasion by 10,000 troops, but it didn't happen, at least not yet. And we have a couple callers on the line. Let's talk to Robert, then Tracy. Robert, how are you? Welcome into Wake Up Missouri.
Hey, good morning. I usually don't call in your program just for particular reasons, pretty good, but read something last night of interest that Trump has approved through, and it's going through the channels to change our currency. Have you seen that one yet?
No.
By 27, our paper bills will be no longer valid, and it would have to take them in to trade them in for cryptocurrency and or gold coins, which will be minted. Now, this is 26, so they're talking about January 1, 27. Curiosity, this was on MSN, but it did come out on April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
So we're not 200 sure on this, but I looked this morning, and everybody is just shook to the core on this one because the crypto side of it, and who's going to carry around a pound of gold in their pocket?
Well, I know that the Treasury Department is they announced that they're going to have Donald Trump's signature on the new currency that starts in June.
That's
think
right.
On $100 bills, right?
Yeah, but then this latest is the fact it's going to do away with paper currency.
I don't know.
And go to $5, $10, $20, $50, and $100 denomination gold coins with his emblem on them. But it's on MSN, and I saw several other articles already this morning.
Well, hey, if we return to the gold standard, I wouldn't be unhappy about that.
It wouldn't. Well, the problem with the gold standard, it's okay on an investment, but if I'm carrying $10 in my pocket, and the way gold fluctuates and as a market item, that's a bad. They would have to take it off of the market value.
Yeah, but if you make it the standard rather than just a market commodity, and you go back to that as the gold standard, then the government defines that.
They would have to take it off of the commodities completely.
Yeah.
And then you would be safe on it, and that's the problem with making it crypto. Is going to be part of the system.
Well, thank you for calling and alerting us to that. We'll follow that and make sure it wasn't an April Fool's thing.
I think he got guys.
Thanks, Robert.
I found the article on MSN, but I'm not seeing it anywhere else. So
Tracy, what's up?
MSN?
You're on Wake Up Missouri.
Hi, yeah. How are you?
I'm good. What's happening?
Oh, yeah, I was just calling in to weigh in on President Trump's action in Iran.
Yeah.
I think it's phenomenal. Should have been done 47 years ago. We should have never have let that country get to the point where it has created terror all over the world. I applaud him, and, and I've never been all in on President Trump. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a diehard. Yes, I voted for him, but I really think that this was a smart move. I think it's going to make us safer and the world safer. And I hope he completely decimates that regime.
Well, okay, thanks for that. And I think you're probably spot on, because he referenced that when he talked to the families and he referenced their conversations, families of the fallen.
Every single one of the people, their loved one said, "Please, sir, please finish the job." Every one of them. And we are going to finish the job, and we're going to finish it very fast. We're getting very close.
Yeah, well, thank you, Tracy, for calling. And Tracy, I think, echoes a lot of folks. Let's get it done this time. Let's do it. They are fighting a war to win the war, kill the enemy, do what armies do. No matter how ugly war is, there is a time for it. And this is, I think, in many people's estimation, the time. And, of course, people are a little sunburnt because of the never-ending wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. And we'll hold the president accountable. I have no doubt about that, John. No doubt about it. They will. If this goes on and drags on and mission creep becomes occupation and, whatever, nation building.
Yeah, that's, well, and he keeps, moving the goalposts a little bit, but I mean, he's got a concrete term and he goes by weeks. He hasn't been out there saying we're going to be there for months and years on end.
Yeah. I really think that I don't know. What do you think of that, Stephanie? Do you like the idea of him basically telling Europe and China and others, hey, we've asked for some help here. You're not giving us any help with the Straits of Hormuz. We're flush with energy. I'm getting tired of, pulling the weight for you guys. So maybe we just won't anymore. I think that's a formidable statement. Smart.
I'm still back on this April Fool's joke. And yes, the MSN article cites this other article at Go Banking Rates, and the end of the article makes clear that it is an April Fool's joke.
It was an April Fool's joke. Okay. So, Robert, no gold coins rattling in your pocket. Don't worry about it.
Okay, I need to know you guys' opinions. I hate April Fools. What are you guys? Because
I like April Fools. It's fun.
I can't stand it. I got the ever-living crap scared out of me here at the office yesterday.
How?
Uh-oh.
So, yeah, you know what? I'll tell the full story. I'll get the sound clip tomorrow because I screamed like a girl. One of the front desk ladies said, hey, can you come carry this for me? It's pretty heavy, leftovers, whatever. And it was our HR lady sitting inside of a huge trash bag, and she pops out and scares me. I mean, it was terrible.
You should go to HR about that one.
That's what I was thinking. How am I going to report this?
That was very nice of HR not to maybe do something much scarier, like send you an email. Hey, can you report to my office as soon as you're finished with what you're doing? Oh, man.
We wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors.
And then the good joke would be to say, hey, I got a full-length Reese's peanut butter thing for you. She's got all these cute little... It's great. It's a great ploy that Becky has. You go to her office and you're always like, oh, what did I do? And she's got this little bowl of little like Halloween-sized treats there.
Yeah, she lets you down easy.
Sort of like you spank the dog on the head and then you give him a biscuit. That works. It's a good one, too. 573-874-9390. No gold coins in the pocket. Donald Trump's face on $100 bills. Oil now at $112 a barrel.
Diapers on the Artemis, apparently.
What could possibly go wrong? Life's good.
But, John, you said you're going to have the full breakdown later on the Eagle about the toilet issue?
Yep. Tune in on the Eagle Eye Drive at 5 with Mike Murphy.
All right. That'll be fun. And it's Think Tank Thursday with Gary Nolan today. I always enjoy listening to that when I'm able at the office. And if you can't catch the program that we do every morning, you can listen to our podcast as well. Drake puts that together and the highlights. Sometimes it's only 5 minutes long. Other times it's longer, depending on how many highlights we have.
That's on a good day, Randy.
Oh, listen to you. Well, you're the producer.
I can't make you be good at doing radio. I can't make you. I can give you the tools.
I keep trying to go to the Drake Whitman Leering School of Radio.
Is this like national make fun of Drake dropping out day? What is wrong with you, man?
Well, you're always calling me old man. I'm not an old man.
Okay, yeah, you found my kryptonite.
I'm a young and spry.
Hey, you know who else dropped out? Mark Zuckerberg. That's what I. Yeah.
Really? All right, let's come back and do some leftovers, gang. Be back in a minute.
It's Wake Up Missouri
over, see what's going on in the pile o' prep that we have for you daily. John's up first.
Yeah, don't you all rush out to sign up at once. Turns out 2 Ashland alderman seats have no candidates on next week's ballot.
Do not write me in.
Well, that was where we were headed with this. The seats will be decided by write-ins, and if you could come up with a former Ashland alderman's name to put on the dotted line, they might just end up on the board again.
Why would that be, Stephanie?
They might not speak to you ever again, but...
I don't know. I've been a bit out of the loop, but it is a commitment. You don't get paid. It's, you're there late 2 nights a month.
Are there raging controversies, maybe some avoidance behavior, or no? Not really?
I don't think so. Yeah. I mean, it is a commitment. And one thing that's strange about Ashland is a lot of people move to Ashland and then they live outside the city limits because they want a little bit of land. None of those people are eligible to run.
I see.
And so actually those 3 wards are pretty small. There's not a lot, So so a lot of people who quote live in Ashland.
But
the city manager's announced he's stepping down next month.
It's Metro Ashland, but you can't run unless you live in the city limits.
Correct.
Yeah. Drake, what do you have?
Mine's a little bit more sports oriented.
Yeah.
No one will ever care, but for your information, Kirk Cousins this morning has signed with the Raiders, the Chiefs' rival. So, not great. He's a great quarterback. That's all you need to know. He's great. So,
Kirk Cousins. Who's he played for last year?
He played for the Falcons last year. He's known for being with the Vikings.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, Kirk O'Chains. You don't remember him like having the big gold chain and all of that?
I don't.
No, okay.
No. What do you got?
It was a big deal with what Michigan State. Wasn't that who he was a big
he
star
was a Spartan.
for? Yeah.
Was he first string with the Minnesota team? No.
I think he was. He was technically a backup for the Falcons, but yeah.
And now he's going to play for the Raiders.
Yeah, not good for Kansas City.
No,
because they might be competent this year.
What do you have, Stephanie?
This is interesting. Just in time for Easter, Hershey says it's going to go back to some of its old recipes that use more chocolate for its Reese's products after the peanut butter cup inventor's grandson, Brad Reese, publicly complained about the cost-cutting changes. I saw the complaint like last week, and he's like, I'm the grandson, and this newfangled stuff doesn't taste like the old stuff, and it sucks.
Wow.
And they said they're going to make a change.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
I had...
What if it's not chocolate, what is it?
Was it fake chocolate or less chocolate? Fake chocolate.
I don't know.
I think it was less chocolate, but that's terrible. Like, you get a Reese's cup for the peanut butter in the middle, right?
Well, now they've got all these different variations on a theme with Oreo peanut butter cups and all that stuff, and I could see that kind of diluting the product.
Yeah, and John, Drake, Stephanie, Hershey, according to this story, Hershey had switched from milk chocolate to cheaper compound coatings. What the heck? What is a compound coating?
I don't know.
Sort of like white chocolate's not chocolate.
Oh, man.
But it's so delicious.
This is going to get the ire. Where's RFK? File a lawsuit. You're a litigator, after all. Wow, isn't that something? Okay. Hey, there's some good news. I have some good news for you. You know how there's been potentially good news. Do you know?
And Brian Hauswirth is going to have a loser on Friday. Let's hear your good news.
No,
Let's hear your good news.
I have a lot of good news. We're going to keep all of the immigrants out while Americans prosper. It'll be good. That's good news.
Get rid of all that darn paper money.
You know how everyone's so worried about microplastic, and they accumulate and they're going to ruin your life. There are now some thoughts that careful conduct in research studies might have been contaminating the researched material with glove plastic. So when they're wearing their rubber gloves...
Oh, so it's not microplastic?
That was getting a trip. Yeah, some of it was maybe coming off into the material, and then that was being tested.
Cross-contamination.
Yeah. Now,
goodness.
Which makes me wonder, guys, wash your hands and then prepare my food. I don't prepare my food with gloves.
I'm just telling them you just want them to use the latex-free gloves, a Polypro or something like that, right?
So now I have to worry about plastic bottles and plastic gloves?
Special substances added to disposable gloves to make them separate from molds more easily, called stirates, are chemically very similar to microplastics, making them almost impossible to distinguish in the lab. So that all of this, so it could be that maybe there's something else going on here. Maybe it's not the product that you're eating or whatever. It's the glove that they use to analyze the product when they do those research studies that demonizes the product. I guess we'll have to keep our eye on this one. And we'll keep our eye on you staying tuned to Gary Nolan next hour or 3. And to us tomorrow on Wake Up. See you then.
Bye.
Feel good.